Welcome everybody back to another episode of the Palumbo Soccer Podcast. I am your host, James Palumbo, along with my co-host who's back in the building from his most recent Italy tour experience with our 11s and 12s. It's a pleasure to have you back, Angelo. I missed you last week. I did an interview individually with Karina, which it went very well. Well-spoken young lady, but I did miss you, having you involved in the podcast. So I'm glad to have you back. And this episode, we have a very special guest and a very special person to me. One of my best friends, Leo Fernandes. Leo Fernandes is a 12-year pro. And as I said, a longtime friend, as I've played with him back in our Stony Brook days. And it's a pleasure to really have him here, not just for the podcast, but his whole family. So his mom is here and his two sons who are enjoying the Benfica camp at the moment. So welcome, Leo. And welcome, Angelo. Leo?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for the introduction. 12 years, wow. It feels like it flew by, but yeah, that's a long time. But no, thanks for having me.
And most recent USL MVP, USL Championship MVP, right?
Yeah. Last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And well, before Angelo, you get into it, I would like to acknowledge that today. You see the kids playing out there. They're in much cooler weather up here in New York, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is like winter for me. I hear some kids talking about water breaks and it's too hot. I'm like, you have no idea how hot it is in Tampa right now. So, yeah, no, it's beautiful. Wish I could train in this every day.
Angelo.
Happy to be back, James. Thanks for having me. Great Italy trip. Excited to be here and excited to sit down with Leo and talk about his playing career. So as you mentioned, James, you and Leo go back to Stony Brook. So I think that's where we're going to start here, Leo. So if we could talk about those 4 years, your experience there with not only James, but playing-wise, the teammates there, how that got you prepared into your professional career.
Yeah. Some of the best times of my life and my career were at Stony Brook, and I think it's honestly just because of the people that I've met there, and soccer aside, I've met some of my closest friends like James and then other guys, Damon, Antonio, that we still keep in contact to this day. But yeah, soccer side of it was great to meet these guys and just have them as mentors, really, because meeting them, I was a 17-year-old kid, didn't even know what I was getting myself into, what type of soccer college soccer is, what type of players that we were even on the team. So having those guys in my corner and just guiding me that my first year and having them, whenever I needed some advice, calling them, they were always there for me. So it's I don't really take this lightly, but if I wouldn't really be where I am today if it wasn't for these guys in my first year at Stony Brook.
Love it. And then as far as the training goes, the coaching, would you say that the college game really prepared you for the professional game? What things in specific were taught or were said, or any leaders on the team that you looked up to and kind of modeled yourself to what they were doing?
Yeah, I think when I look back at it, what really stood out to me is I was very lucky that I got a chance to play all 4 years, and I think, like, for young players, that's a major key just in terms of developing. A lot of players these days, they want to sign to good teams and pro contracts, and they get there and then they don't play enough games, and then they kind of just devalues your development, and you don't grow the way you're supposed to. So I look back at it, I was so lucky my freshman year to play almost every game, and then from sophomore till my senior year, I played every game, almost every minute, and those 4 years is where I really grown into the player that I became today, and the pro that helped me become a pro.
Love it. So we say it all the time here at the camp, it's basically the game's the best teacher. So you can have the best coaching staff, you can have all these intricate training sessions and stuff like that, but if you're not getting the experience, if you're not getting the exposure, then your development is gonna, maybe you won't develop to the top
Exactly.
as a player. So now moving on from Stony Brook, you're getting ready for the draft. Your name is getting thrown around there. So talk to us about that process, the MLS draft, and how you prepared for it, what you did specifically, and then ultimately getting drafted to the Philadelphia Union.
So as soon as my senior year ended, I had a really good senior year. Was named All-American. We had a really good team, but we didn't win the whole thing and didn't make the NCAA tournament. But I remember just a little mindset shift. As soon as the season was over, I knew that what I wanted to do was become a professional soccer player. So everything I did from that November till January, I basically told myself, is it going to help me become a pro, or if it's not, I'm not going to do it. Sometimes I took that a little bit too serious. I missed a couple classes where I shouldn't have, but luckily it worked out in the end. And it was one of those where I wasn't even sure if I was going to get drafted. Because Stony Brook is a mid-major school, not one of the biggest schools. So luckily, my agent, he had a couple connections in Philly, and I was the last pick in the supplemental draft. So they picked 5 players ahead of me, and I was the last one in the last round. So as soon as I got drafted, I got a call from my agent. He said, "You're going to Philly, pack your bags. They start training tomorrow." So it was a quick turnaround. But for me, like I said, I think all I needed was one opportunity, one chance to go into preseason, and I can show everybody what I can do. It didn't matter what pick I was, first, second, 50th. I was going to show them what I can do on the field.
Love it. So getting ready for the draft, you get drafted, you head over to Philly. What was that experience like? First day, training camp, hopping in. Were you confident going in? Where you're like, hey, like you said, like all I need is a shot to show it, but deep down, were you like, I know what I can do, and I'm going to show everyone what I can do? Or was there a little bit of anxiousness, or was there a little bit of doubt? Anything at all running through your mind as far as mentality is concerned?
I think I felt good. I was prepared. I worked so hard. I was so fit at the time, and I think it was one of those where like I was so young. So I wasn't even thinking about the moment. It was kind of like when I was at Stony Brook, like just playing. Wasn't really thinking about I got to make this a career right away. Like I'm just gonna go out and play 11v11. I do this every day and then see what happens. But I knew I was prepared. I knew if I got a chance, I was gonna score a goal or get an assist. And that's what happened. The first game, my first preseason game, we're losing 1-0 to Orlando. And the coach was like, before the game, he was like, you're going to play 30 minutes. So I was like, all right, cool. Like, I know exactly 30 minutes to show them what I can do. And we're down 1-0. I come in the 60th minute. And then first play of the game, the ball comes in the box. I, like, take a touch with my chest and just volley it. And it went in. I was like, oh, okay, that's a good start. And, like, it was one of those where it was kind of like I was just playing. I wasn't thinking too much about it. And I think that it was so helpful at the time. It was one of those moments where it kind of got me my first contract, and I was so blessed for it to happen.
So you played, you had that good preseason, you signed your contract, you have your first year with the Union. How did that first year go with the Union from your point of view?
It was a good learning experience. It was tough for me. My first time really leaving New York, because Stony Brook, my parents were still there, 45 minutes away. And this is the first time I'm living on my own, playing with adults now. And it's just a little bit different. The season's 10 months long, so I would say it was a great learning experience. I didn't really play the first 2-3 months. Finally got an opportunity in the summer when a couple of our players were called up to the national team. So that gave me a chance to step on the field. I feel like I did all right. Played I think it was 10 to 12 games the whole year. But like I said in the beginning, looking back at it, I wish I would have went somewhere and was playing every day. And not just training with the MLS team, but actually getting games in. So it was one of those where, it was cool to be on the MLS roster, but I wasn't playing every day. And looking back at it now, I would have asked, hey, can I go somewhere to play? Instead of just being happy where I was.
I was gonna say, Leo, I think a lot of things just came into my head, or what I remember from you as a player, and it's no surprise, those who know you, that you go into the preseason, you have that opportunity, and boom.
Yeah.
The joke with friends is that Leo luck, but you make your own luck. And I think one thing I want to point out, I remember in Stony Brook, is the first game. I think you came in against Harvard, because I think it was this is your freshman year, but you got the ball on the left side, and first thing you do is go at the guy, and I don't even know how many, but it was like 6 scissors at the guy, go down the line. But that confidence, not like you had something to prove, but I just think you have a joy when you're playing the game, and confidence that those great things come your way. One thing I did also want to point out was, and I think it'll be helpful for those players maybe currently in the same situation, or players that may go into college. I know that you played 4 years at Stony Brook, but then getting involved with the draft and anticipating that you're going to be drafted, there was a leave to go into professional soccer. And then I know most recently you've gone back. And have you finished your education?
I did finally.
So talk us a little bit about that decision making. Talk to us a little bit about that experience of, wow, I've been in school for 3.5 years, and now I got 2.5 months left, and my dream is to play, and I've always been here to play. So tell us what was going through your head, and also tell us why you ended up going back and finishing.
Yeah, I think like I said before, I was so focused on trying to become a pro, where I kind of not ignored my studies or my classes, but I kind of just wanted to play and put that second choice. And obviously so young at the time, 20 years old, and not really having someone there just to be like, hey, like, finish this. And if you don't, you're gonna regret it, and you're not gonna do it for another 10 years. So I was looking back at it, I was a bit disappointed in myself, and it's something that I always said that I have to do when I have time. And luckily, 2 years ago, we had an opportunity with Bellevue University. They actually sponsor our USL league, and they said that they offer full scholarship to one person per team. And when I saw that, I was like, all right, this is my opportunity, this is my chance, just to get it done with. And for me, it was probably the best decision I did, because I got into something that I enjoy as well. So I started doing sports management and just looking at other roles in sports organizations. So it was good for me, and I've just finished it this month. It was just something to kind of just off my shoulders, happy that I did it, and it was good. It was something that I always wanted to do, and I did it.
What was the process with being that one person to get the scholarship? Like, was there a competition, or did you have to apply? What was that like?
So I think for me, I honestly I was negotiating my next contract, and I just put it in my contract. So I don't know if there was competition with other players on the team, but once I asked the GM for it, and he was like, yeah, no problem, we'll make it happen. So awesome. So it was one of those where it was like I was trying to use any leverage that I can just to put it in the contract, and they were happy, and they did it.
That's awesome. That's something that I think is great also to share, is the off the field experience of being a pro, and how other opportunities end up coming your way through negotiations. I know you mentioned an agent earlier. Now you're more of an agent of yourself, and you're advocating for yourself. So how do you feel about your personal growth process by now being the one that negotiates, your contracts?
No, it's something that I started to do in 2020, 2021 season, just because I was with the Rowdies for 3 or 4 years already, and I knew it was a place where I didn't really want to leave, but I would have left if I had to, if there was other opportunities that me and my family wanted to explore. And I got really close with my first agent. I've only had one agent my whole career, and we were very close. He really just showed me the ways, the tactics that he would use, and all the information that he had. And that winter, that off season, I just decided I'm probably gonna do this on my own, and he had no problem with it. And then if I did have any questions, he was an open book. I would send it to him, and he would just help me out. And now 3 or 4 years later, it's something that I'm still doing.
That's awesome. I think that's great that you have that relationship, that he supports you in that. And then I wanted to ask about that first meeting or that first conversation. Is it like going into? Oh, man. Is it the same as like a coach coming over and be like, "Hey, Leo, you're gonna play 30"?
Yeah.
Or was it even more nerve-wracking?
It was definitely more nerve-wracking. I remember just because like you read all these books and like you watch these videos of what you should and what you should say, and it's just like, wow, this is actually happening right now. It's like you don't want to make the first offer and all that stuff. So it was good where we kept it professional, me and the GM and whoever was in charge at the time, and like we didn't really let it get personal. And I think that's like the biggest thing. You don't want it to get personal, because if they say a number and you're like, I'm valued way more than that, but it's just the business. It's like it's negotiating. So that's what I had to tell myself a bunch of times. It's like, hey, come on, man, I've been here 4 years. This is what you're offering me? Nah, I'm leaving. So it was a good experience. Yeah, the number one thing I would say is like, don't take it personal.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I super proud of you to take on that type of experience and learn off the field, and also another off field. Well, it's on field, but off. Not only within completing your education, undergraduate degree, but you've also been involved in coaching as well.
Yeah. I got my B license, I think it was like 2-3 years ago. And I think that is what really unlocked the door for me to get back into school. Because going into those coaching licenses and coaching courses, it's a lot of schoolwork on your computer and laptop. So I basically got back into the flow of things, and one thing led to another. And I was like, all right, I did the B licenses. It was good experience. I learned how to learn all the new PowerPoints and all the good stuff, and I was like, all right, let me just keep it rolling and get into school as well. So, but the coaching course was great. Kind of like changes your view of while you're playing, which is a good thing. You get older, you start noticing, why are we doing these drills? Why are we doing these tactics? And you ask the coaches more questions. You're just not. You just don't show up and play, and you're actually thinking about other things. So for me, it's something that I am interested in after I'm done playing, and hopefully I can keep doing it and keep learning.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I've taken it a little bit beyond the playing career, which there's still so much within those 12 years. So before we go into the coaching experiences and what you're currently involved in right now, I noticed that in our notes, a special year, I think, at the New York Cosmos. You talked about Philadelphia Union and really wanting more games and more play time, and you were in a situation where, okay, what's the best thing for me, and how did the Cosmos come about?
Yeah, it was, like I said, I wanted to play, and the first 2 years in Philly, I wasn't playing enough. And there was an opportunity that came up with the New York Cosmos in 2015. And honestly, it was probably one of the best moves that I did in my early career, just because of how good that team was, how good the coaching staff was. It was unbelievable. Playing with players like Raul Gonzalez and Marco Senna, Carlos Mendez, like all these guys are top pros. And for me to get into an opportunity like that and learn from them, I think that year was the year where I learned what it took to be a pro for 10 months. Not just like in the off season and in the 2 months and then the rest of just like try to get by. That year was an incredible year.
Do you think Gio Savarese as a coach had a good influence as well, managing the group and the team?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, his coaching style is one of those where it's like you just want to play for him. You just want to score the goal for him. You want to win the game for him. He's such a great coach, and for me it was a like I said, great move for myself and just to learn how to be a professional on and off the field. And then the most important thing was I played over 30 games that year, and yeah, just developed, and it was just a great experience. And just getting advice from like Raul, like just think about it. I'm playing the 11v11 like scrimmage, and I'll take a touch this way, and he'd be like, "No, Leo, try to go this way or come earlier and take your touch the other way." And it's just like, "Oh wow, I appreciate it." You know, and those things I'll never forget, and it was just a great experience.
And I think there's levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you're playing with grown men at Philadelphia Union, and this is nothing against the Union, but
No, yeah,
Raul's not at the Union.
Yeah.
Marcos Senna is
that's what I said. I mean,
legend.
These guys, my Philly team, we were really good, but I think the Cosmos team was better at that year. We were probably better than the Philadelphia Union team, even though it was NASL. But some of those players, like Marcos Senna, he won the Euros a couple years ago, and Raul was in Real Madrid a couple years ago. Like, yeah, and I'll never forget. Just so we used to train on this grass field, and it was a bit bumpy, and we were like, "Oh, it's tough to do some finishing drills," and like the ball's coming into Raul, and he still just like chips the goalie every time. Chips the goalie. I'm like, if he's not complaining, you know, maybe it's us. Like we have to be better. Yeah. So it was just like things like that. Just watching him do finishing drills was you know, unbelievable.
And it's helpful. It's helpful for you to say, okay, let's get to work.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what were some of the things that those guys are doing off the field? You meant that you were talking about on the field. So what were some of those things, or some of those guys doing off the field that you were like, okay, this is how to be a pro. This is what to do, maybe nutrition-wise or sleep-wise or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Like off the field, like what they ate, what they did, massage and you know, ice baths and all the little things that you don't really think they might do anything, but they just add up and help you recover for the next day. And yeah, I think for me it was a great year of learning, and just helped me carry, you know, big reason why I still think I'm playing till this day. You know what I mean? Seeing Raul on the field, you know, you would, from the outside, you would think, all right, this guy's coming. He was like 35 at the time. And you're like, oh, he's probably never going to train. You know, he's just going to show up to games. This guy wanted to train every session. Like, he didn't want to take any breaks. He wanted to do everything, every finishing drill, every possession. And, you know, I see that, and I'm like, all right, perfect. I'm gonna do this exact same thing. And now I'm 32, and I'm like, all right, I want to do every session. I want to do every drill. I don't want to miss a recovery session. And I'm hoping to play for as long as he did, honestly.
Long career.
Yeah.
For sure. So you have that great year at the Cosmos, talked about learning, talked about growing, development, and then talk about how Tampa Bay comes up. Was it maybe negotiation with the Cosmos not working out? Was it Philly not maybe wanting you back? Was it game time? Talk about how the Rowdies came about, and then ultimately making that decision and going into the USL.
Yeah, so after my good year in Cosmos, I actually went back to Philly for another year because I had another year left in my deal with them, and yeah, I think that year was another tough year for me. I would say, you know, just because I had a good start to Philly, started every game in preseason, started the first two games of the regular season, and I think we were like 1-1. And then I remember just kind of, I lost my spot the third game, but came off the bench and had an assist and still performing really well. And then the fourth game, we had a couple players come back from injury, and I remember not making the bench in the fourth game. And I was still a young player. I was still 23 at the time. And I just remember kind of putting my head down and kind of like saying like, oh, it's the same thing as the first 2 years. You know what I mean? And looking back at it, I always say like, I put my head down way too quick and kind of gave up. I wouldn't say I gave up, but I was kind of like, no matter what I do, this guy is not going to play me. You know? And I think as an older player now, as a little bit as a veteran, it just wasn't like that. It was just because, some of the guys that were coming back from injury, they were going to play, but no matter what, I would always have a chance if I kept working. And not to say that I didn't keep working, but it's kind of like a mentality thing and just being young and learning and going through those experiences. And if I can go back, I wouldn't even put my head down. I would keep working and keep grinding and keep playing for the second team or whatever it was, whatever the case is. But I do remember getting down and kind of thinking about like, oh, this guy's never going to play me. And it was definitely something I shouldn't have thought or say to myself or say to, my family. But yeah, and then after that, I did manage to play some games, and it was another tough year. And then in the off season, I was contacted by Tampa right away. As soon as my contract ran out with Philly, Tampa wanted me. But it was a tough decision because I wanted to remain in the MLS, but Tampa had a good contract offer. So it was one of those like, do I wait and see what's out there, or do I take this and just have a good year with Tampa? And I was with my wife Emily at the time. We weren't married yet, and she was pregnant at the time with my first son. So it was one of those where I was like, all right, let me think about my family and just let me make sure I got a job for next year, and then we'll see what happens. Yeah.
So get to Tampa, make that decision. First year, how did it go? Talk to us about that. So you went to Tampa in 2017.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not great. But I think in soccer, like, it is more. Everyone always thinks like, oh, professional soccer players is all happiness, is all joy. It's like, I think it's more, negatives and disappointments, honestly. But my first year was a tough year. Started really well, was playing every game, and the team was pretty good. And then I had like a little bit of ankle injury. Came back, played like another month and a half, and then I had like a little minor MCL sprain. So that was like another 6 weeks. So it was like on and off. And at the time I was like 25, and my goal was, all right, play 1 year in Tampa and back in the MLS. Like, this is just a pit stop, and that didn't happen. The next year, in the next offseason, the Tampa had my option. They picked it up. And then in 2018, we had a bad start, but then our coach got fired, and our Neil Collins took over mid-season, and he was another coach like Gio in the Cosmos, and he was unbelievable, and he was one of those coaches that you just wanted to play for, and he convinced me to stay in Tampa. He was talking about this project that he had and how to make Tampa Bay Rowdies like a powerhouse in the USL, and he was like, I really want you to be there. So yeah, it just made me feel valued, and I think that's the most important thing is there comes a time when in your career where you just want to play and you want to feel valued, and I think that time 2018, 2019 was where I was like, all right, I need to play consistently, 30 games a season, not just do it once, and we'll see what happens. So we made a decision to stay 2019. And it was honestly one of the best decisions I made.
Yeah, I would say so, because then in 2022, you had, I would say, your best season as a professional, breakout season, MVP season. Talk to us about that season in particular. Was there a mindset change? Was there something you were doing off the field that helped? What made you just turn into an absolute monster?
Yeah.
Every time on social media, James is sending me, he's DMing me videos of you, and I'm like, James, I follow Leo, and I follow all this stuff on Instagram. Like, I got it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was one of those seasons where everything just clicked. The first, like, 2019 to middle of 2021, I was kind of playing like a left winger. So I wasn't really, like, getting in the box or getting those chances that maybe I deserved to score the goals. But yeah, 2022, we switched up the formation. He basically put me as a number 10 or right-sided number 10 if we played with two number 10s. I was able to create chances and score goals. It was an unbelievable year. We did really well. We won a bunch of games. We lost in the Eastern Conference Final, which kind of still sticks with me. But yeah, individually, it was definitely my best season as a pro. I'm hoping to get back to that. Hopefully by the end of the season or next year.
Yeah, so you have that great year, like we talked about, playing in your role, and then injury, Achilles. Talk to us about that, and I really appreciate your openness on the ups and downs, and everyone, like you said, becoming a pro, like, oh, it must be the greatest thing in the world, where they don't see all the behind the scenes stuff, all the negative stuff that's happening. So when you're going through that negative phase, how's your mentality? You had a breakout year, you're MVP, and then boom, you're going to be sidelined for a long period of time. Talk about the mental side of it and the mental draining of coming back from a crucial injury.
Yeah, it was tough, man. I think it was more tough for me just because of how good of a season I had in 2022, and I wanted to do it again. I wanted to go back-to-back MVP. I wanted to win as many games as we did the year before, and I always put pressure on myself. I want to score as many goals as I can, and I think that year maybe I put a little bit too much pressure in going into preseason. But yeah, these injuries, they're like freak accidents, and I never had any issues with my Achilles before. I never had any pain or anything like that, so it was a strange one, and especially the way that it happened, it was kind of why did it happen? But yeah, the mental part is probably the hardest thing, because you're basically not on the team anymore. To keep it honest, you're in the side just rehabbing with the physios, and especially when you're out for 9 months, 8-9 months, you are just doing everything you can just to get back on the field, and I think I handled it pretty well, just because each day it was you versus you. How can you get better competing against yourself? And I think I did well with that, but it was like the people behind the scenes, my family, my wife, my mom and dad, my friends, they all kept me going. I didn't want to end my career like that, and you hear these stories about Achilles, oh, once you tear your Achilles, you're not the same player. So that kept that in the back of my mind, and just kept going, and no matter what happened, I was telling myself, I'm gonna be back on the field.
Great mindset to have. So now Achilles is good. How are you feeling health-wise?
Yeah.
What's the timetable for you? When can we see you back on the field? Talk to us.
Achilles is great, man. Honestly, didn't have any issues with it this year. I feel like my body's still trying to catch up for missing such a large amount of game time last year. But to be honest, I'm happy that I'm back training with the guys. I'm back, performing to some type of standard that I like, but I know that I still have a lot more to give. But yeah, I'm using this season as more of a rebound season, and then hopefully next year I can send you a bunch of videos of me scoring goals again. So it's going well. I have to stay with a strong mindset, and know that not every day is going to be perfect. I'm not going to be feeling 100%, but if I keep going, if I keep that strong mindset, next year is going to be great.
For sure. Well, we look forward to it. Hopefully James can send me some more videos. I can see some more videos.
100%. I will be sending videos, but I do want to include family here. As you said, you have 2 young kids now. They're 7 and 6 feet tall. So it's you don't have to be chasing him too much, and now CC you chasing around. So the management of that, but at the same time, how crucial is it to have your family there with you throughout those difficult times? And I mean, of course, you have your extended family, friends, but your immediate family, your wife and kids. How important is it to have them close by you going through the injury process, and then especially now?
Yeah, it's massive. I don't think I would have rehabbed as well as I did without them. We last year going to games and going with my family and little Leo, and he's like, "Dad, when are you gonna play?" And hearing him say that, I'm like, all right, I really got to get back out there. He really wants to see me play. So just him asking me these questions and just pushing me in the right direction. And yeah, without them, I don't think I would have been back as quickly as I did and as strong as I am today.
That's awesome. I think that's meaningful to all of us, right? I think we need something that pushes us, but we also need something that we're chasing to get after. So having the family support is huge, and and you mentioned it 2 or 3 different times already, which is great. But we have a slogan here, which is keep going, and that attitude is necessary, especially in the situation that you found yourself, not only with injuries but not making rosters, or there's always going to be those setbacks that I think are learning experiences, and they send messages. So with that, and we have a youth club here where we've had players that have had international experiences, some soon to be in the national team, training camps, which we didn't talk too much about, but I do know that you are a scout within the U.S. national team on the 15 boys side, am I correct?
Yeah.
So just with players aspiring to be a pro and knowing that it's just such a small number that actually make it there, what would be your advice for them?
Yeah, I think for me, like I said in my story, there's so many times where I've been hit with disappointment and I could have just stopped going and just gave up. And I think for kids these days, there's a lot more pressure, there's a lot more social media, you you see everyone's failures in a different way. But my advice will always be use every moment as a learning experience and really just see how you can get better from it, how can you learn from it, and use it towards your next experience. Because we know in soccer, it's once you lose a game, there's always a next game. You know what I mean? There's always another opportunity, and how are you going to use that to make yourself better and to make your team better, and that's probably my biggest advice that I tell my kids and even my brothers.
Yeah, and I think it's important to mention the path.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your path has been not the same as anybody else, and everyone's gonna make their own path. So
exactly,
you don't have to rely like, oh, did I make the right turn?
No, yeah.
Was this the right decision? Was that the wrong decision? You're gonna make right and wrongs, right? But it's really what you're learning along the way, and the will to keep going.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think there is no one path to go pro or go to college or make the high school team. Everyone is going to have a different way about it, no matter what. My like you said, mine is completely different from all my teammates. Some of my teammates had the MLS Academy, signed a first team deal, and played a bunch of games with MLS, and now they're at the Rowdies. Some people don't go to college. Some people go to college, play 4 years. Some people go to UNC. So it just doesn't matter where you are, as long as you have that mindset of learning and growth, and you just don't know where you're going to end up. But it's always like I said, meant to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Well, Angelo, anything to add before I close?
No, actually, what I did want to ask is for Leo, now that he's into the coaching realm, negotiating his own contract as well. What is hopefully and very far down the road, what is the goal off the field? Do you want to stay involved with the game? Do you want to become an agent? What are some of your plans off the field once the playing career is done? Yeah,
I'm gonna play until the wheels fall off.
Exactly.
That's what I always say.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me right now is keeping every door open, every option open, and when I'm done playing is to find that passion that I have for playing in somewhere else, whether that's coaching, front office stuff, GM, scouting, whatever that may be. I have to find it, because as soon as I find it, I know I'm going to be good at it and just do what I did in my soccer career somewhere else.
Well, besides the playing skills that you have on the field, I will tell a very brief story to close here. When Leo was drafted in his first year at Philadelphia Union, I invited him to our JPSC holiday party.
Oh my god.
And I picked him up without really letting him know too much. But I said, there's some people. You have no problem saying a few words, right? Yeah, whatever. We're driving. No, seriously, how many people? I was like, we have like 150 people. What? No, James, turn around.
He killed me.
James, turn around. So I do want to say, although he did excellent that night, speaking with everybody at the party, I do want to say your speaking skills, of course, negotiating contracts, being involved in coaching education, being in finishing your degree. All of these experiences developing new skills. So I'm very impressed with your.
I do want to say this. I was thinking about that a couple weeks ago. I was just thinking about how can Jim do that to me? 21, 22-year-old, whatever the case may be, just made me hate public speaking. But
Trauma.
Trauma. But I've gotten better at it, and I did want to ask you. I want to do it again. Because I don't remember what I said.
Breaking news.
Yeah, I do want to do it again. And
You have it here. Join us for the 2024 holiday JPSC party. We have Leo Fernandes in attendance to redeem himself from the first speech, which was still good.
I don't even remember what I said.
I remember it.
We have tape. We're gonna have to check.
No, I do. That definitely don't want to see it.
But as you can see, the pro mindset remains. He's always growing, always improving, wanting to be better. So, Leo, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for coming to visit. It's always a pleasure. Nowadays, it's everyone's loving to see your kids.
Forgot about me.
So, which we want to get back out there on the field at the camps and see them. But I want to thank you again, Leo. And as we always say here, we keep going.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Thank you all for tuning in to the Palumbo Soccer Podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and as feedback is always welcome, let us know who you would like to hear from on our upcoming episodes or topics you would like for us to discuss. Keep an eye out for our next episodes. As always, we keep going.